Next to one of the largest citizen registration drives of all time. It's taking place in India, where authorities are mounting an effort to give every resident an official biometric identification card and number. Every resident an official biometric identification card and number. Special correspondent Fred DeSam Lazaro filed this story as part of our Agents for Change series.
Across India, in community centers and schools like this one in New Delhi, people line up for hours. Patience, like the application forms they seek, is often in short supply. It seems like a big deal over a rather mundane prize, a new government-issued ID. But the man behind it all calls it the largest social inclusion project in history.
We still have a large number of residents of India who don't have a birth certificate or any other form of official ID. And in the old days when they lived and entire life in a single village, it maybe didn't matter. But now with a highly mobile and aspirational society, you need some kind of an ID.
Nandan Nilekani says an ID is the first step to better account for hundreds of millions of people in this vast nation of 1.2 billion. The government asked Nilekani, a 58-year-old retired software billionaire, to head the massive undertaking. He says it will greatly improve the way it serves the poor.
To make it more effective, efficient and equitable, this will play a huge role in reducing corruption and harassment for the common man. The government wants to make sure that benefits go electronically and directly to the genuine beneficiary.
The new identifications are electronic, online, and designed to be foolproof. The unique identification project, called UID, goes much farther than the usual mugshot or even fingerprints. Each applicant also looks into a viewfinder through which the irises of both eyes are scanned. From these so-called biometrics, an online identification is generated with a unique 12-digit number, which is delivered on a card a few weeks later by mail. People in India do have other cards that serve as IDs. The majority of poor and middle-class families have ration cards that allow them to buy basic food at subsidized prices in special ration shops.
This lady has shown me the one for her family. She says she receives 4 kilos of rice, which is about 10 pounds of rice.
She's also eligible for cooking and heating oil, but rarely gets them. Items are frequently out of stock. Corruption, mainly through diverted commodities and fake IDs, is widely blamed. The government hopes to change all this by opening and linking bank accounts with the new, more secure IDs. Instead of food grants, assistance would come in direct deposits, and recipients would have cash to shop in regular stores. Vijay Kumar, waiting to enroll for his new ID, likes the idea.
There
are a lot of benefits from government programs, but middlemen steal from them. I don't come from a well-to-do family. There are 12 people and many depend on assistance. Maybe they'll be able to benefit from this card.
Just a few dozen people here in Bangalore manage the avalanche of data from 30,000 enrollment centers across the country. One of the few tasks at this center that requires a human hand is here. About 2% of all applications are flagged because there appear to be similar biometrics, like fingerprints, between often very different people.
Photograph clearly says that there are two different people.
There usually is a simple explanation, says manager Kiran Chaubin, like a fingerprint screen with remnants of a previous impression.
I can see that the screen looks like it's pretty dirty.
Yes.
Hasn't been wiped clean. What percentage are adjudicated successfully here?
Everything.
Every single one?
Everything goes in.
There's no mysteries at the end of this process?
No.
Chaubin and almost all of the 100,000 workers on the ID project work for private companies contracted by the government. They are paid for each person successfully enrolled, an incentive system that's brought speed unusual for a government project. 250 million people have been signed up or scanned in just 2 years.
Already, India's unique ID project has the largest biometric database in the world. It's fast becoming twice as large as the second biggest one, which is at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
But there are critics concerned about privacy who say its Department of Homeland is fast becoming ID project has scanned in just 2 years. Already, India's unique ID project has the largest biometric database in the world. It's fast becoming twice as large as the second biggest one, which is at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. But there are critics concerned about privacy who say it's all too rushed. They worry about abusive surveillance, particularly of political, ethnic, or religious minorities. Social activist Gopal Krishna notes Britain scrapped a national ID program in 2010 after years of debate. Here, he says, the project headed by Nilekani has not been debated, and the government's only beginning to draft a privacy law.
Nilekani has mastered the art of putting the cart before the horse. If privacy is a concern, shouldn't privacy bill come first and then UID database?
Other critics say the new IDs won't reduce corruption, merely create new middlemen to replace the old, in banks instead of ration shops, for example. Usha Ramanathan, a lawyer and human rights activist, is also skeptical about the program's stated objective.
The agenda is not in providing identity to the poor so that the poor can get everything and become unpoor. I need to be really gullible to believe that, and I'm not that.
She says the real agenda is to privatize poverty and welfare programs for all but the very poorest people who would remain in the public distribution system. Right now, the system protects all recipients from the worst effects of market swings and escalating food costs.
There is a desire to do a certain kind of social sorting where the state will identify those who they cannot not deliver things to. You just have to do it because they're so extremely poor that you don't want an image of yourself as being a country where people are dying of starvation.
For his part, Nilekani says he has no problem with market-based reforms, which will empower many people to assert their rights as citizens and consumers. He insists the universal ID database is secure, that privacy can be safeguarded. That said, Nilekani adds the very nature of privacy is being redefined.
I think privacy and convenience are opposite. So it's always a trade-off. I mean, when you go and buy things at a e-commerce site, that e-commerce organization knows exactly what you're buying. So, it works both ways.
The ID project may well be subjected to court challenges. It will likely be debated as it comes up for renewal in 2014. By then, the program, at an officially estimated cost of $3.5 billion, expects to have enrolled 600 million people, half of all Indians, and a tenth of all humanity.
Fred's reporting is a partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at St. Mary's University in Minnesota.